everybody. It's me, John Hodgman, the new host of the Flophouse. This is an incredible special episode of the Flophouse because it's Max Fun Drive. I'm here with my inferior co-hosts, Elliot Kalin, Dan McCoy, and Stuart Wellington. And this show now belongs to me, and that's just the way it is. How are you guys doing?
I guess,
I guess we've started the show.
Yeah, you really wrested control in the power vacuum.
All right, well, let's go to a break.
Give a little time to the child within you. Don't be afraid to be young and free.
I'm hoping in the new regime I can fulfill the role of bully henchman.
You're gonna be
like a Crab Goyle type.
You're the guy who, when Hodgman's plan is defeated at the end by the hero, you go over to give him some solace, and he pushes you away in anger.
I don't remember which one it was, whether it was Crab or Goyle, but one of those young actors, I was like, that guy's got a future, and I have never been more wrong. Now, Draco Malfoy's on The Flash. That's how far his future went.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
That's the top thing that you can be, is an actor on The Flash.
So just to be clear...
Let me make it clear. I would like to be on The Flash.
Yeah. All right.
Like Greg Berlanti, I am here and I am in wardrobe. I'm wearing a Flash costume as we speak.
So yeah, if you were going to pick
the Flash is already cast, but he could play any number of characters.
Yeah, they're alternate. I mean, there are many different Earths.
The Flash villain, the Turtle, who was super slow.
I was going to make a joke about that, but apparently that's a thing that exists.
He was a real character from the Silver Age stories. Here's what he would do: he'd rob a bank.
He's already been on the TV show.
Really?
Excuse me, Bully Henchman. Shut him down, please.
Oh, he's already been on the show, Elliot.
Thank you so much.
And he can't be the trickster because that's Mark Hamill.
From the old Flash show. Is he in the new
He's
Flash
in the
show
new
too?
Flash show, too.
Elliot, come on.
I haven't seen this new Flash.
Yeah,
Who plays Mirror Master?
Yeah, I don't know.
Miramax?
So if you were gonna pick a Berlantiverse show
Flash's
to
greatest
be on,
villain, Miramax.
would it be, or would you like to be like a rival millionaire on Arrow?
If I were going to be in a Berlantiverse show?
Yeah. Supergirl.
Supergirl.
Not Legends of Tomorrow, where you could play like an Old West cowpoke who hangs out with Jonah Hex.
Here's what I have to say. Arrow has no claim on my heart. The Flash, they're full up. They don't need it. They don't need me at all.
Stuffed.
Yeah, they already got 5. What's his names? Who's the actor?
The guy from Tom Cavanaugh?
Tom Cavanaugh. They got
There's
5
a lot
Tom
of
Cavanaugh.
Tom Cavanaugh's all over that shit.
That's
sometimes
playing it?
Many
Reverse
different characters.
Flash?
Oh, Professor Zoom?
No, that's a different bad guy in this.
Okay,
So,
there's two different verse
I'm
Flashes?
talking to my friend Stuart about the Berlantiverse.
Look,
here.
I'm just confused about whether we actually started the show or
This is
not.
apparently a Flash cast.
Oh, no, you heard me start the show, right?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Okay, so it's goddamn started.
I just assumed since we immediately then went into Flash talk without even pretending that we watched
All right, be quiet, Elliot. Okay. So if you were going to ask me seriously about which Berlantiverse show I would be in, it really would be a tie for Legends of Tomorrow or Supergirl. And here's the deal.
Sure.
Flash is full up. They've got all the character actors they need.
Lots of Ed Kavanaugh's.
Oh, Elliot.
Tom Cavanaugh.
Stu, I thought you were going to help me with this.
Sorry about that.
All right, would you please wedgie Elliot while I talk? Thank you.
I'm menacingly slapping a sap against my palm.
That seems way harsher
Can
than
you
Wendy's.
buy saps places?
Yes,
Like,
for
where
a-
do you buy that?
Wedgie, and you're going to blackjack the man.
Just go get a wedgie hook down to the 7-Eleven.
Dan, I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
No!
One
Let
is-
me answer my question.
Right.
I would want to be in Supergirl because she's such a Supergirl.
You're talking about Callista Flockhart?
No, she's not even on the show anymore, Stu.
Yeah, they
my
moved it over
How
to the
dare
CW,
you.
and she's no longer on the show.
she's not going to be
Not
on
even
it.
as a hologram?
No, she's not going to be on a CW show.
CW can't match her quote.
The CW has a restraining order
That's
against
right.
Callista Flockhart.
Yeah.
Because they were dating for a while, and they broke. CW was like, "I'm sorry, this is not working for me." And she was like, "If I can't have you, no one can have you." And she started stalking people. She burned down One Tree Hill, and they had
Are you
to get a restraining
confusing
order.
Now it's
Callista
No Tree
Flockhart with
Hill.
Sean Young?
Maybe.
Yeah. So I guess I would be a Legend of Tomorrow for sure.
You'd be
Okay.
great. I think you and Victor Garber would be great together.
What if I played young Victor Garber? I built a good ship for you, Rose.
Then you'd be in Godspell if you were playing young Victor Garber.
Or the even younger baby Victor Garber. Victor
All
Garber.
right. Well, once again, relies
Gerber.
to me,
Victor
John
Gerber.
Hodgman, to bring
I
this
got
thing Back on track. This is the Flophouse.
This is the Flophouse. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast
where we watch a bad movie, and then we talk about it.
What's special about this episode, Dan?
Well, one special thing is we have Mr. John Hodgman with us.
And why do we have that?
Because it's a bonus episode that we're doing because it's the Max Fun Drive.
I thought it was because we were friends, but that's fine.
But by bonus, you just mean extra. We're not releasing.
It's an extra episode.
People are listening to this right now.
Yes.
Okay.
People are
It's not like they're not like I don't remember going to a secret hallway and unlocking a special door with my key code to find this bonus episode.
You're right that I should differentiate bonus episodes because there are certain things called bonus episodes that have something to do with the Max Fun Drive.
Yeah.
That we'll talk about.
Much the same way flammable and inflammable are the same. You use bonus for two different reasons.
I think that's the opposite of what happened, but go on.
The word cleave means its own opposite.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, to split and to hold together.
And speaking of cleavage, we just watched the movie 1941, directed by Steven Spielberg.
That much cleavage in it.
Oh, did you not see the Nancy Allen scenes?
No, I mean those were
I don't want to disgust your viewers by reminding them that I am a sexual being. But this movie, 1941, directed by Steven Spielberg, is one of the most profoundly disturbing, provocative, and erotic movies in my young childhood.
It's a real late consequence.
That's as good a tease as any for us to now talk about the Max Fun Drive and then get back to the erotic awakening of young John Hodgman.
I don't want to stop.
The Max Fun Drive is a very special time.
So first off, what's Max Fun?
Maximum Fun is the podcasting network that we belong to. It has many great shows, including John Hodgman's show, Judge John Hodgman.
And now the Flophouse Judge John Hodgman's show.
And Maximum Fun is thus called that because it is the maximum amount of fun the human body can have without shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd had any more fun than you get from these
you go
podcasts,
into renal failure.
Oh, your reens would fail immediately.
Yeah.
You would have the most failingest reens.
And it's almost exclusively listener supported. Yeah, it's always been a listener supported network.
Yes.
That means you, the person who's hearing this.
Oh, I thought you meant me.
Basically,
you? I don't know.
Basically,
I don't know what you do with your money.
Basically, all of our money comes from donations from people like you. You know, there are people out there I know saying, "You lying assholes! I listen to you do ad reads every week."
Don't undercut the sell
on the Flophouse.
No, but that's a fair point. We do ads.
We do ads.
In that we kind of poop them out. We don't do a great job. But also, those
80% of the
far more than 80%.
the money. Oh yeah, Elliot's the CFO of the Flophouse.
I'm the treasurer. As the treasurer and secretary of Housecat Productions, the corporation that owns the Flophouse.
We mainly do ads because they're fucking awesome and hilarious.
And they're only for products we believe in, like Mack Weldon, the underwear I'm wearing right now. But anyway. The thing
I can tell because I'm wedging you.
The vast majority of the money we receive comes from viewers, and by viewers I mean listeners like you. I don't know what you're looking at while you listen to this, so just call yourself a listener.
I hope it's something good.
But but it means a lot to us. It's true we did this podcast for a long time, gratis, for free. But since we joined the Max Fun Network and we started making money for it, it means we're able to put more time into it. We're able to do a slightly more professional job. We're able to really make this more of a focus of our creative efforts.
Generally longer episodes.
More often episodes. And
we're able to fill in for the McElroys when they have babies by doing episodes of their D&D podcast.
And it also helps us to feel the confidence to perform, knowing that people care enough about us to show us that love in the form of
Hodgman's eyes are rolling. They're rolling out of his skull across the floor into a little mouse hole.
Well, oh no! I'm sorry, you lack the confidence.
First off,
to watch a terrible movie and talk about it.
The mice are using the eyeballs as beanbag chairs.
I'm just wondering why Dan hasn't closed up all the mouse holes in his apartment. I guess he's hoping for friends to climb out of there.
Oh, that's sad.
I watched Max Magician Legend of the Ring.
Yep, that's a callback. So did I. And after watching that movie, you were inspired to drill mouse holes into the walls.
That's right.
In the hopes that a magical character will show up.
And you hung signs all over the neighborhood that says "cheese available." Ask for Dan.
Joke's on you. A magical character did show up and pooped all over my food.
So we'll talk more about the Max Fun Drive later, right? But
it's
your chance.
That's just a little teaser.
It's your chance. And what's the URL for that, Dan?
It's maximumfun.org/donate.
We'll talk more about what you get when you do donate. We're done. when you do
We'll
on
fix that
Nate.
one in post.
Paul. What was the post guy's
Doug.
name? Doug. I'm so sorry, Paul. Doug. First, let's
Paul's
get
his
back to
first
how.
name. He prefers to be referred to by his middle name.
Let's go
Doug.
back to how 1941, perhaps the least liked movie in Steven Spielberg's career, not counting Crystal Skull.
What about Always?
Yeah, Always is a pretty good.
I feel like always people say like, well, it's nice to see Audrey Hepburn at that point in her life. There's nothing about like that in
You think
1941.
you think it
Well,
doesn't
but
feel good to see Robert Stack at this point in his life?
No, that's a fair point.
All right. Anyway,
But John Hodgman, you referred to it as being part of, I guess, what helped you discover doing it. So how old were you when this movie came out in 1979?
well, I was born in 1971.
Dan,
so
can you turn the lights down?
Boom.
Set the mood music.
That's my fucking bit.
So I was born in 1971. The movie came out in 1979. You do the math. I was brought to it by my dad for reasons that I now severely question.
Because, as you know, your dad would usually see a movie first to preview and make sure it was okay for you, then take you to it. So
Well,
you
it was-
knew it was happening.
It was a PG movie, and it was branded as a comedy, and I feel like he might have been misled to some degree about the content of this film. He might not have known.
Had you seen the previous Steven Spielberg movies?
No.
Yeah, you were
Given
big,
any indication of being a huge fan of that director?
you were a big Sugehead, as Sugarland Express fans were known.
Yeah. I'm
Suge
sure
Knights?
that I did not see Jaws. I had not seen Jaws at that time. I may have seen Close Encounters. I know that I had seen Annie Hall with my babysitter.
Which is technically not a Steven Spielberg movie, but it's hard to not know that it's not.
No, but I remember.
But I know the kinds of movies you've seen.
It was a time
Because of the expertly timed chase scene Woody Allen goes on.
Well, there's
No, but
that
it-
part where Diane Keaton reached out her finger to Woody Allen, and then she went back home to her home planet.
right. It was a time. It was a time when children were being brought to the movies because irresponsible adults wanted to take 2 hours out of their lives and see. And movies were made for grown-ups at that time.
And there was the kind of movie that fell into the no man's land between PG and R.
Right.
The PG-13 rating did not exist yet.
Exactly.
So it was like,
Until
well,
what? Red Dawn?
The
What was
Flamingo
until
Kid.
post Grems and Temple of Dums,
Okay.
as some people would call Gremlins and Temple of Doom. And they didn't like them. I like both of those movies to a greater or lesser degree.
was Temple
Oh,
of Doom
wow.
a PG-13 movie?
It was not. That
was the one that
and
That
Gremlins.
was the one
Because
that really pushed
Mola
it
Ram
forward.
pulled that heart out of that dude's chest.
Yes,
They were
but
like, "We
because
need a
there
new thing."
were no boobs, they were like, "This is good for
Yeah.
kids."
Was
okay.
Red Dawn the first?
I think Red Dawn was the
PG-13?
first
Might have been the first
PG-13.
PG-13.
I thought it was the Flamingo Kid with
They might have come out at the same time. I don't know.
well, in any case,
There's no way to research it. We just don't have the technology.
there was no amount of heart pulling out of chest in Temple of Doom that scarred me and titillated me as much as going to see 1941 with that nude lady at the beginning of the film.
In a parody of Jaws.
And
Yeah, a film he had not
You
seen
had
at
not
that
seen.
point.
I had not, well, no, I had no. So, and I have this vague memory that we went to the Cleveland Circle Theater in Cleveland Circle, Brookline, Massachusetts.
And if a Kickstarter doesn't start right now to put a plaque up on that theater to commemorate your scene 1941.
oh, it's been torn down.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Well, whatever building's there, put a plaque up. The Cleveland Circle
I
Theater
think the
won't stay
ground
here.
round is still next to it, so you could put a plaque there. That's where.
John
That's
Hodgman ate his weight as a kid after seeing 1941.
that's
in
when
the state.
that's where I went on my first friend date with my wife, Catherine Fletcher. Actually, so you could put a plaque there for sure. But we went there. I know that we went to the Cleveland Circle, and I my memory is that we arrived late to 1941.
It was already 1942 by the time we got there.
Yeah, okay, and it was like
Welcome to the Fibber McGee and Molly show.
No, don't open that.
don't open the hall closet.
Clink, clunk, clunk,
Clink,
clunk,
clink,
clink,
clink.
clink.
Then there's the sound of people turning off a podcast because they don't
Stuart
understand
checks
the
his
reference.
phone.
Yeah, just hit the.
What's new in the world of role-playing games?
If you want to see what Stuart's checking on his phone right now, just switch to SAP.
I think that we
Now let's check in on Jack Benny in Rochester and what they're up to.
which is also 1941. I mean, 1941 referenced a lot of weird old
Yeah.
culture that doesn't exist anymore. Well, my dad and I showed up, and I think we were like 20 minutes late. And I'm like, I don't want to go into movie 20 minutes late. My dad said, I'm going in. And
I love, even as a child, you're like, this is not the way this film was meant to be seen.
Precisely. And the funny thing about it was, this movie was not meant to be seen. And my dad went in to see it, and I just waited until the next showing, and then he very graciously let me come in. And we watched it again. What is weird about that is that he'd already seen the movie.
Twice.
That is true love for his son, that he watched it twice.
I think he just wanted to see that nude lady at the beginning of the movie.
Fair. The internet didn't exist yet. It was harder to see nude ladies.
That nude lady. So at the beginning of the movie, a woman goes into the ocean.
This movie is set in the year of the title, 1941. And it's loosely based on an incident when people started shooting into the skies in California because they thought they saw Japanese planes, but it didn't actually happen.
Right. After Pearl Harbor, everyone on the west coast of the United States was afraid that Japan was going to invade at any moment.
It was back when the United States was kind of gun crazy.
Back then. We've gotten over that now.
And also afraid of foreigners in a way that is just not really understandable to today's Americans.
And so Steven Spielberg got together with John Milius and Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, and they're like, let's make a funny comedy.
Otherwise known as Hollywood's Comedy Brain Trust.
John Milius.
We're going to take the comedy genius of John Milius.
How can we create some comedy genius? I know. Right after Pearl Harbor, we got so paranoid that we put every Japanese American into a prison camp. That's a funny idea for a comedy. And they made it. And it's called 1941.
I mean, they don't really cover the prison camps in this one, but
Maybe that was in the bloops that we didn't see.
there's a whole subplot they must have cut out. That
was clearly going to be the sequel.
Yeah.
There was so much reference, like offensive reference to Japanese American and Japanese citizens. It was the movie could not have possibly have been made today or ever.
It seems like it was made during that kind of what's the flip of golden, that period when the freedom of the filmings of the 70s
leaden
like clashed and merged head on with the emerging kind of like bro capitalist culture of the 80s in a way where suddenly it was like rich white guys trying to rape women is funny and like is a sign of heroism and freedom in a way that like I don't understand it, but that's just how it is these days, guys. So there's a lot in this movie of like guys trying to get with women in ways that are like not even that are just make your stomach turn, but the movie is like boys will be boys, right? This is pretty funny stuff. Come on,
right? Elliot is making reference to. Go ahead.
What?
Well, no.
But it's clearly like also inspired by. It feels like this was made by people who don't understand comedy and were like,
correct.
National Lampoon is funny. Everybody loves National Lampoon. Let's just do what they do.
Yeah.
Totally, just stick it to the broads.
Because if there's anyone who needs to be taken down a peg, it's women.
Even when
they
saw
almost
the
had
movie,
an equal rights amendment passed. Almost.
Yeah.
Comedy is punching down, Elliot, always.
At the person you're standing on.
When I was 8 years old and I saw this film, finally, after waiting in the lobby for the first half an hour.
What were you doing in the lobby? Were you reading a book?
I don't know.
John Hodgman reading a book?
I'm trying to figure out because there weren't.
Well, the Cleveland Circle.
Playing Pong.
The Cleveland Circle also had an art gallery in it.
So
was this the sort of art gallery where you could, like it was basically like a coffee house where you could buy what was up on the wall for $30?
Yeah, of course. Oh, yeah. When you sat down in the Cleveland Circle Cinema in Cleveland Circle, Brookline. Before the show started, they would say, make sure to visit our art gallery. Make sure to visit our art gallery. Everything is for sale. And it was a mid-century modern cinema. And you could check out their modern art that was up there. And
I mean, that's
I
pretty
perused
cool.
it for a while I was thinking about why my dad had gone to a movie without me. And I'm 8 years old. I'm alone in a lobby.
Are you saying you didn't try and earn your movie fare by beating people in arm wrestling matches or something?
It never occurred to me that I could beat anyone ever. But I do remember going into the movie and then seeing the scene that you're discussing, which is that Treat Williams plays a member. First of all, this movie has 17,000 characters.
They thought they were making Nashville when they made this movie. There's so many characters. They're all running around. They get picked up and dropped higgledy-piggledy, and their plot lines peter out or explode at random moments, and they're constantly like you're an hour into this movie and they're still introducing characters, and you're like, I have to assume that like a middle-aged Gary Marshall saw this and he was like, "Bravo! This is how movies are supposed to be made. I'm gonna make so many movies with a ton of characters just dumped.
I can't wait to make Pearl Harbor Day, the movie." That's my terrible imitation of Paul F. Tompkins doing a great imitation of Gary Marshall.
Rest in
peace.
peace.
Rest in R.I.P. Paul F. Tompkins' impression of Gary Marshall.
Also, Paul F. Tompkins is dead. What? But yeah, no. So Treat Williams played one of the many 10,000 characters, and he
was the biggest star in America at this time, right?
Well, he's a real treat to see in the movies.
And his name continues on in our Halloween saying of Trick or Treat because of his short-lived partnership in a series of movies with Johnny Trick.
Oh, Elliot.
Johnny Trick was a dog.
In real life?
No, I'm making it up as I go along.
Also a male prostitute.
If you're not singing, I don't want to hear it. Anyway, Treat Williams played a member of a tank battalion who got a fixation upon a young woman
Sure.
who was being courted by the ostensible lead of the movie, a character named Wally, played by, hang on, I got to look this
He's
guy up.
the hero of the movie, much the way Danny is supposed to be the hero of Caddyshack,
Chico,
and yet
like-
disappears for broad swaths of the movie because he's not that entertaining.
Right, exactly.
So it's like in that moment in Caddyshack where the waitress goes, "Danny, I'm pregnant," and you're like, "Wait, was I supposed to care about this character?"
Wait, she's
There's a lot of that in this
Australian?
movie. Yeah. I said, "Good day, mate. You threw another sperm on me, Barbie." Does that plot go anywhere? What happens to her
in Caddyshack?
Yeah.
I don't know.
She gets hit by a ball.
And it knocks the baby out of her?
the baby out of
The
her.
gopher steals the baby.
I mean, it's another...
Raises it as one of its own.
This movie is part in that milieu of a woman in a movie is pregnant out of wedlock, and you're like, oh shit, this guy's got a real problem on his hands. Her life does not enter into the scenario.
Right.
How does this affect this dude who was just going to be a caddy for the summer?
So
I don't like that movie either,
The ostensible main character in this film is Bobby DiCiccio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who is not...
He's a dancer and a short order cook.
And he is not a very good waiter. Let's just say that.
No, well, he doesn't like to take orders.
But also, yeah,
It's literally one of his a major part of his job.
Everyone in the movie gets one defining characteristic. His is he loves to dance, and I guess he's bad to And Treat Williams is that he hates eggs, and I guess he's a rapist.
our hero though is
I don't think you have to say I guess on that one. Do you think that this was built out of like a Second City style like improv routine where they're like, let's just take some suggestions from the audience, go away for 15 minutes, we'll write the entire script, and then
Very
the movie's
possible.
done. Like, okay, doesn't like eggs, likes to rape women, only gets sexually turned on when in a flying aeroplane.
But the not like so that's another. So every character has
Their
a
one
certain
bit.
sexual peccadillo.
Much like all the great comedy characters of comedy films have one thing that they do over and over throughout the entire movie every time. Just think of Charlie Chaplin, the Marx Brothers,
Right.
All of them, where they have just one single thing.
They all hung off clocks, right?
Yeah, Harold Lloyd, all he does is hangs off clocks. That's it. Charlie Chaplin, all he does is eat shoes. That's it. Groucho Marx, all he does is kind of like, I don't know, smoke a cigar forever. And all that Harpo does, as it says is the name, is he harps on and on about the most boring topics. And of course,
Silently.
Yeah, and of course, Chico Marx is always doing this with his cheeks. That's it. You couldn't hear, but I did a cheek sound.
No, I could hear it. It was disgusting.
So
You couldn't see it. Elliot was carefully masturbating into the microphone.
carefully, so as not to hurt myself or the microphone.
gently. This is quite good, but
I'm edging
keep
myself.
it gentle.
Keep it gentle, softer, gentler. I don't even want to feel it.
Gentler, Elliot. Gentler.
So that's how I talk to myself when I'm
Yes, that's how
masturbating.
you're talking to
You do a
yourself.
third
cool, you
person.
affect a cool voice.
in kind of like a British butler voice.
Yeah.
Gentler.
I like to.
Elliot, be gentle.
My sex play involves me being the guy who's always helping Jack Benny at stores. Yes, gentler. Yes, Frank Nelson.
Oh,
John Hodgman is roaring.
I knew his name once, and now I realize you knew his name always. I feel terrible.
No, it's all right. So we should quickly go through just describing each of these characters, or many of them, real quick. There's Treat Williams, the rapist who hates
This
eggs.
cast is stacked. In fact, it has Robert stacked. See you guys later.
Oh no!
There's the dancing waiter who wants to be a dancer and doesn't like orders.
Bobby DiCiccio.
But
There's Robert Stack, who's a general who just wants to watch Dumbo.
Mm-hmm.
There's John Belushi, who's a crazy fighter pilot who's basically just Bluto the pilot, and is at certain different points barely human. He's just an animal in a plane, grumbling and throwing things at people. There's Warren Oates as a general who's just hanging out in the mountains shooting things. There's Eddie Deason as a guy who sits on a carousel watching out for Japanese subs, and he is a ventriloquist dummy that never really pays off.
With the mayor of Amityville from Jaws.
There's Toshiro Mifune as a Japanese sub-commander who wants to attack Los Angeles. There's Christopher Lee as a Nazi guy who's with him on the sub.
He's just along for the ride.
Just there. Slim Pickens as a cowboy they pick up to get information about where LA is. That turns into a long scene about Slim Pickens having to poop out a compass on the sub. There's who else? There's Dan Aykroyd as the tank commander. Doesn't really tell a lot of jokes.
John Candy
is his
as
buddy.
one of the supporting guys in the tank. Doesn't have a lot of lines in the movie.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke has almost no lines, and he's just another tank guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's also what other character? There's Tim Matheson, who is trying to lay Nancy Allen the whole time, and the only way to do that is to get her up in a plane because she's totally turned on by flying in planes.
Yeah. When she goes up in a plane, she's magically aroused.
So even though he can't fly, he is going to steal a plane under false circumstances and fly her up there so that he can do it, and then I guess crash, having fulfilled his dream of having sex.
Ladies and
once.
gentlemen, the listeners of this podcast, now that you've listened to this entire dramatis persona,
I haven't even mentioned Wendy Jo Sperber, who is the dancing.
Ned Beatty's a pretty big character.
The dancing waiter's friend who's obsessed with Treat Williams.
Joe Flaherty.
There's Ned Beatty, the dad of the girlfriend, who has an artillery gun parked at his house and learns the joy of firing it through his own house later. There's Joe Flaherty as a foreign-y owner of a dance hall where there's a competition going on for best dance. And
there's an actor that we just can't seem to place the name of, who is also part of the Tank Battalion, that is not John Candy.
And what you
John Landis shows up in a brief cameo.
There's a really dusty guy who
not even that brief. He shows up a couple of times.
And what you
He's
need
the dusty guy,
A
right?
thing to know also is this is not the Spielberg of Saving Private Ryan. Spielberg directed this. Not the Spielberg of Saving Private Ryan who is in awe of the greatest generation, maybe a little too much, and considers them gods who landed on Earth to free us from Nazis. In this telling, World War II was full of slobs, yahoos, incompetents, losers, morons, rapists.
Goofs and goons.
Your general goofs and goons collection. And he's like, greatest generation, more like gooniest gooneration.
There's got to be at least one character with redeeming value.
Eddie Deason is a ventriloquist.
Yeah.
We said that already.
I gotta say,
So now that
Elliot,
you've heard all of the characters in this film
Yeah.
and all of their
I
motivations.
think I've mentioned 1/4 of the characters in the movie.
Clearly, you, the listener, understands the screenplay writes itself. You know where this is going from the beginning and where it's going to go till the
I
end.
mean, we're lucky if you're still listening. If you didn't stop the podcast, throw your phone in a fireplace, and run out to rent 1941.
Honestly, you list that cast and those characters, and you think this has got to be the greatest movie that has ever been made. This is the reason celluloid was invented.
You honestly sell it pretty hard because it is, when you describe it as it is so wackadoo and out there that people out there might be tricked into thinking, oh, this is crazy. I'd like to see what a crazy movie they made.
Nope, just go see Skidoo. That's going to do what you want it to do. It would be a crazy movie full of stars.
I feel like maybe, I don't know, I can't place that. Maybe 15, 20 years later when Mars Attacks comes out, it kind of had the same effect where, like, I remember seeing the trailer and being like, oh my God.
This is going to be hilarious.
The night sky is dark for all the stars are in Mars Attacks. Only to be disappointed at the time. Obviously, I've come to like the movie more, I think, than I
Except
originally-
Mars Attacks, for all of its, I mean, that's basically a lightweight goof. This is the most leaden, heavy,
It's a heavyweight goof.
slow. Yes, heavyweight goof.
Right.
It's like if Goofy, the Disney character, I mean, just I guess got divorced and lost his will to live and gained like 700 pounds. Like that's what we're watching right now. It's a very heavyweight goof. It's like there's so little sense of coherence in the movie, but instead of coming off like a hell's a poppin' craziness, it just is like it's at a certain point your brain is just like, I'm just watching lights and flashes in front of my face, and occasionally a long scene where someone's trying to have sex with a lady.
Well, there's never any sense in the movie of who who are they trying to make fun of here? Like what is the satirical target of
Who's the funny guy?
like there's a moment where Wally the dancer and bad short order cook says, "I'm not going to take orders from you," which has a certain amount of post Vietnam era, like I'm against the
Like the military establishment.
But the military establishment as portrayed in that time is like, we just got attacked by Japanese. Like, we're in the middle of a war for our existence.
We got
like,
attacked by one country, and that country's ally is the most evil people in the world.
Right.
Like, it's very weird. It's a weird thing to be taken like unless you're Joseph Heller and you've been through the war and your target is military bureaucracy or miscommunication or incompetence,
Yeah.
like, that's a different thing.
This whole movie seemed to be based on the premise that war is idiotic circus chaos.
and that it's
which is what you
hilarious
would-
to see things fall down and blow up.
Well,
That war is to be despised, but blowing things up is super
yeah,
fun
but
and
everyone
hilarious.
involved in the practice of war is a craven monster or an idiot fool, and that it derives directly from the Vietnam and post Vietnam films. So MASH, as you mentioned, Elliot,
While we
I'm
were
gesturing
watching it.
towards you. Well, that's a Korean War film. That was a
I think he was
metaphor
talking
for-
about the Monster Mash, actually. Not to undercut your
Oh, I
statement.
did mention that. Anyway, it appears I was working in the lab late one night.
Oh, we've heard about your graveyard smash.
Dracula asked whatever happened to the Transylvania Twist, and that's a good question. Nobody dances anymore, but it was huge at
Well,
one
because
point.
it never existed.
I mean, for
Or
you, the
existed
living, this dance
2,000 years
exists too.
What'd you
But
say, Dan?
MASH
No, I was
was
saying for you, the living, this dance is too.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that
That's what
everyone
it's like
knows that.
Lincoln said. It is rather for us, the living, to finish the work they left undid of the Monster Mash.
It feels like
Transylvania Berg address.
it feels like nobody is competent in any way in this
Including
movie.
the filmmakers.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are
no.
these
How
long,
dare you?
Sorry, I apologize.
there are these long
I'll let
scenes
you
where
finish
there's
your
no
thought,
jokes whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nobody is competent comedically in any way.
Okay, yeah.
There's a few moments where people sell jokes, and there's one dance scene, which is genuinely like a thrilling
That
dance scene.
scene's that scene's fun.
And it feels like Steven Spielberg was like, "Oh, I don't need to put any jokes in this scene. This is great. I feel much more comfortable."
I'm going to use this scene for the opening scene of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom later.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot of pieces in this that would later appear better in other Spielberg movies.
For sure.
Like someone standing on a sub as it sinks.
I mean, I'm assuming that. I think I read somewhere that that's the actual physical submarine they used for Raiders.
Well, the woman who was on top of the con tower
In the beginning.
Yeah.
in the beginning is the woman from the beginning of Jaws.
It opens with a woman skinny dipping.
It's
and
all
rather than a
this
shark, it's a
interconnected
submarine.
universe that I'm really into. I
Yeah.
keep talking to you guys about this
the-
Marvel Cinematic Universe
the
and how I like it.
Burgerverse.
Is this the Spielberg cinematic universe where so that woman is the grandmother of the woman or mother of the woman in Jaws,
Right.
Uh-huh.
And also that's the same sub that Indy is on.
Right.
What other same
Well,
similar? What other?
you know Barry from Close Encounters who gets the little kid who gets yeah. So Stranger Things is just his dream.
What? Whoa!
And the
There are people out there laughing. I just know that they are, even though no one here is laughing
and
at that
the
chick.
the great great grandson of Eddie Deason's ventriloquist dummy is Haley Joel Osment in AI.
Oh, that's how
Can
it
we
works
talk
out.
about Eddie Deason for about 5 to 6 hours?
I would love to.
He's great.
I love
I mean,
Eddie Deason.
I feel like he and Jim Belushi. Oh, man, I got Jim Belushi on the brain.
You're
It's
saying-
huge. But he and John Belushi both play they do their performance as big as possible. Why do I much prefer Eddie Deason's performance?
There's a lot less of him in the movie.
Yeah.
And he's playing off of the characters. A lot of John Belushi's scenes, he's just by himself, sputtering and throwing things, going,
This
and
movie
scratching himself.
This movie was made when John Belushi was at the absolute height of his fame, and it was a matter of faith that John Belushi could just sit in front of a camera and make a bunch of nonsense faces, and that would be enough to sell a movie.
And John Belushi said, "That's literally what I want to do. Could I just sit in front of the camera? Could you put a camera in front of me
Right.
in a plane, and I will just sit there and I will mug and that'll be great
When he
for
first
everyone,
appears,
right?
his plane crashes.
Yeah.
His plane like semi-half crash lands, and he gets out, and the movie like pauses for the audience to lose its shit and applaud for 30 seconds.
Right.
Like those people are just so excited that John Belushi
they expect you
for
to
them.
jump onto the floor and run circles around, whooping it up.
That even though he's on the poster, his name is in the credits. I assume was the biggest selling point of the movie in the advertising, that you were going to be like, John Belushi is in this? I can't take the joy. Heart explodes. You're dead now.
I assume that they also relied on John Belushi's natural charisma to think that like the audience was not going to just be disgusted by this character, because the character as presented is the most massive asshole in the movie. Like, he gets everything wrong.
I disagree.
He shoots
I
down
disagree with
No.
an American
Does
plane.
he ever
He doesn't
attack a woman in the movie?
That's true.
Does he ever drag a
He's
woman
not Treat
under
Williams.
a car while she screams for help?
Treat Williams.
In a comedy movie.
Later
Yeah.
on, he used all the goodwill that he built up to be on the show.
But Treat Williams was supposed to be a villain. John Belushi, I think you're supposed to like a little bit.
Oh,
And
you're supposed to love him.
And he
Yeah.
was just like a madman who shot everything that he saw.
But he was also utterly unimportant to the plot as it was told.
yeah.
The thing is,
there was a separate movie with John Belushi.
he's basically the Tasmanian devil, dude, and everybody loves Taz.
That's why
That
he's on
guy's
all that merch.
he's awesome.
The
got his-
I mean,
He is essentially
has
the-
basically the same amount of
Agent of
same
Chaos.
lines,
it's true. A lot of the movies
He
him going
spits a
blah,
lot.
blah, 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 spinning around in circles.
smoking a cigar.
There's the funniest moment he has is when he's standing on the wing of a plane. He falls off at once, and it's not funny. This movie is so many people fall down in it, and I love movies where people fall down, except the movie Falling Down, which I don't like. He never really falls down.
no,
in
he
it.
never really falls down.
But I love movies people down, but it's not funny in this at all. But then he gets back on the wing of the plane and he slips and falls for real. And
Yeah.
you said he ended up in the hospital because of that.
Yes,
and
I
it is
did some.
and is his genuinely most funny moment in the movie for me.
Yeah, John Belushi falls off the wing of his P-51, I think it is.
I don't know.
And they were filming, and he hurt himself very badly and was in the hospital for a week. But they're
luckily he lived
let's use
for-
that because it's funny. And it's the only legitimately funny part of the movie.
Luckily, he went on to live hundreds of years, right?
Yeah, he's a invasive vampire.
I do want to say, like, yeah, Treat Williams is
He's no treat in this
he's
movie.
disturbing. This movie, like, I turned to Hodgman at one point and I was like, "There's a woman saying, please help." In the middle of this movie, she's being dragged off by Treat Williams, and it's played off as like a humorous
but how many times
thing.
have you laughed at Oliver going, Popeye, help me, Popeye, and Bluto's like,
Never.
Popeye like, take it away.
Although
True, I haven't
would
thought
like-
of the fact that Bluto is a serial rapist. I didn't think of that.
I was
Tempted.
He's literally carrying women away against their will.
let's
Tempted. Yes, let's be fair to Bluto, Stuart.
alleged. Let's put a pin in the Popeye comparison because I think there's something very interesting there.
Okay.
But I just want to say that even as an 8-year-old maybe even especially as an 8-year-old watching this movie, the Treat Williams character dragging that woman under a car
Jesus Christ.
was one of the most terrifying. I mean, like, and that was the same year in which Alien came out, and
Yeah.
Wait,
Let
have
me
you
say-
seen Alien?
well, I had not seen Alien at that time because that was an R-rated movie. But I
bad.
had
Such a good
read
movie.
like my same dad.
He's like, we can take
I
that
only had
movie.
one dad.
Okay.
My dad who took me to see 1941.
You had different dads for each movie.
Also, in a very benign, dumb way, had bought me the comic book adaptation of Alien, which was produced by Heavy Metal. And Heavy Metal, the adult comic book magazine at the
Yeah,
time.
Metal
You're using
Laurent.
adult sort of charitably. I mean, the adult in that it had boobs in it.
Yeah, it was a booby.
He doesn't mean adult as in it was like about people approaching middle age and wondering
no,
where
I
their
just-
dreams
no.
went.
I think that.
But if you're interested in that, make sure to buy my book Vacation Land coming out this fall from Viking.
I'm just saying-
it's just about adult
It's
themes.
your Run Rabbit Run.
It's basically heavy metal.
the appeal of heavy metal is to 13-year-old boys. Let's not be
And
naive about this.
37-year-old Stewart.
Yeah, all right.
which is essentially a 13-year-old boy.
45-year-old nostalgic
Like there's
like
part of
myself.
me there's part of me that thinks, Stuart, that like right before I met you, you found a wizard machine that made you big, and your actual age is only about 14.
Yep, and I've been trapped in this body the whole time.
Trapped. I mean, so I should be so trapped.
Yeah.
It was the most Jewish thing I've ever said. I should be so
Thank you.
trapped.
I should be so trapped.
No, so you're trapped. Here's the thing about Treat Williams'
Somewhere
character.
there's a 13-year-old in Dudley Moore's body. Who's you?
in Dudley
Dudley.
Moore's body.
Rotting away.
Dead.
So I got the Alien comic book from my dad.
Sure.
And heavy metal had the concession the to make adaptations of certain R-rated and certain more adult themed films, including Alien and including 1941, and I got both of them. And the 1941 comic is insane.
It's like I would imagine it's like Jack Davis, like Mad Magazine crew style artwork. Okay.
which is
this-
what the movie is trying to be.
It's trying so hard to be a Jack Davis movie.
It's trying to be a Mad Magazine version of. It's trying to be a Mad Magazine parody of itself, basically.
Yeah,
Whatever the movie was, this is the Mad Magazine version of it.
Was it 1940 black?
Like, this movie would make much more sense if a big credit came up that said, like, co-directed by Will Elder. And you're like, oh, that's why there's all this shit in the background all the time. Because he's putting all his chicken fat jokes in.
So many
they're-
extras in this movie.
And then
My lord.
I like the idea that in like the corners of the movie, Sergio Aragone's characters are doing crazy things.
I mean, there's shots where there's just like a women's legs with stockings and high heels just sticking up out of the ground, basically.
Yeah. And there's Santa Claus is getting blown up in the corner of the frame everywhere and things like that. So here's how I would describe Treat Williams. For people who haven't seen 1941 and don't want to and shouldn't. If you saw The Master, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie, you know the Joaquin Phoenix character in that, who is this hugely traumatized, if he was ever fully functional emotionally, character who cannot communicate with others, and he only kind of understands violence and lust at their most raw forms. That's the Treat Williams character, but played as a joke. And also, he hates eggs. Don't even get him started about eggs.
That's
Don't
what-
serve them to him. That's
That was
for
the most
sure.
offensive thing about this movie is that it sets up the fact that Wally, the Bobby DiCiccio character, gets a little bit of egg yolk on his uniform. He's like, I hate eggs. I can't ever have eggs near me. And then when he goes to the USO dance, he sees some deviled eggs. He's like, I hate eggs again.
That just sets him off. He's
That
a
was-
great Santini.
But then at
That
the
was
very
another
end,
pre-Spielberg
there's no
thing.
payoff.
the
That
payoff
was,
is that
What?
he eventually falls into a big thing of eggs. at the
exactly
end.
like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, I must have.
He hates
Fallen
snakes and he
asleep at
falls
that
into a
part.
bunch of snakes.
Yep, that's-
Here he hates eggs and he falls into a bunch of eggs.
It's this Biff in the manure moment.
That's the script, is he says, okay, this villain is going to fall in what? A big pile of eggs. Okay, let's work backwards
Let's
from there.
plant that earlier.
The Japanese sub is lost.
So when 1941 was turned into this comic book, I don't remember the other artists in it, but it was Steve Bissette, who's a very talented.
Oh, who's
comic
fantastic.
shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Creator of
What-
Tyrant.
and,
Yeah.
And it's
he did all
it
that great
truly
Swamp
is
Thing
the
stuff.
Yeah.
Mad Magazine version of this movie, which is the only way you could imagine this movie being. You can't imagine this movie being a movie, basically. It's better as a comic book.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg wrote an introduction, and this came out he wrote it the year before the movie came out, and he said, I can see 1941 more as a cleansing experience. The one possible way I can make you forget all the good things I've done in motion pictures. Be merciful. Steven Spielberg writing about his own movie.
Well, everything. I mean, that makes me like him more. That he was clear-eyed
Of
about
course.
that. He wasn't
Yeah.
like, get ready for the most gut-busting, knee-slapping, side-splitting moment in motion picture
No,
history.
he must have
Step
known that.
aside, Marxes. Step aside, Abbott and Costello. You met Frankenstein. Well, get ready to meet. What's the character? What's John Belushi's character's name?
Wild Bill Kelso.
Get ready to meet Wild Bill Kelso.
He had a different name in the trailer, right? I think the trailer for this movie, they introduced his character as
It
something
was
completely-
Kyle Bill Welso.
He was Wild Bill Kelso.
Has Steven Spielberg made another comedy?
I would say
We made
that
The
Catch Me If You
Terminal, right?
Can is kind of a light comedy.
Yeah, that's kind of comedy-ish.
It's
Yeah, but it's not billed as a comedy.
no,
made,
it's not a madcap comedy like this one is.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is meant to be a parody of the Indiana Jones movies, right? Where like all the things you thought were cool
Oh,
are now
dear
stupid
Elliot.
and goofy.
Oh,
come on,
right?
Elliot.
That's what that is. Hey-o. Take that.
What was that?
That was just me ending the bit.
From Bozo. Hey-oh, hey-oh. Nuked in a fridge.
Diamonds on the nuked in the fridge.
But like
Spielberg is very-
It's not as though Spielberg doesn't have comedic moments in
No,
his
he's
movies.
very good at doing small comedic moments in
He's
movies.
good at dusting his movies with comedy.
I mean, Raiders.
Like Schindler's List even has a few jokes in it.
as you say, like it all starts.
No, but I'm saying no. It does have like
Right.
It's like that is as serious a movie as it gets from that man. But even that has a few moments that are like tension lifters or like very brief moments of lightness among horror. You know,
Right.
It's like
say
Saving
that,
Private
Louis.
Ryan has some jokes, like when you find out that only one brother survived.
I mean that's not really the joke.
Oh, I thought that was
But like
hilarious.
Saving Private Ryan does have jokes in it. Like they have that story
But
about
it's
the guy who
not-
used to pee on all their jackets.
It's not
and
like
stuff.
a big. It's not a big like huge ensemble, comedy. It's not like SOB or something.
No,
Oh, that's true.
Dan, finish what you were saying.
No, Raiders. I think though, like you gotta give it to Raiders. Like Raiders has the perfect marriage of the movie is an action movie and it's kidding an action movie at the same time.
Yes.
Like I feel like that, and for me, that and North by Northwest are sort of equal in that they work on two different levels simultaneously, and neither the comedy nor the action thriller part of it like takes over too much.
And Harrison Ford has some tremendous comic chops.
Yeah, just watch the Frisco Kid.
God, there's beer in my nose.
No,
now.
but he
Thank
got
you.
like Harrison Ford is like, genuinely like very. Can be
he's-
very
Yeah, like
funny
in the
before.
Robert Zemeckis movie "What Lies Beneath,"
Yeah,
a
like
movie
in
I
Random-
saw in Germany when it was known as Der Schatten der Wahrheit.
But seriously, like in Random Hearts.
regarding Henry.
Come on. Oh, how dare you? I was just about to. Well, look, I'm going to bring it back to serious.
You know, like in Firewall.
When Harrison. Look,
What was
When
that
Harrison
Irish
Ford-
movie he made with
The
Brad
Devil's
Pitt?
Own.
with Brad Pitt.
Irish movie. Brad Pitt plays an Irish character.
No, that's a movie
Irish
where
movie.
they keep saying in Brad Pitt's terrible Irish accent, like, "Oh, it's not an American story; it's an Irish one." And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude! I'm a teenager and I know this is bullshit.
With two refreshing deodorants. Two deodorants.
He's kind of an Irish vampire.
When Harrison Ford says to Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, she says, "I love you," and he says, "I know." That's one of the funniest lines in cinema. Like
Yeah,
that is a beautiful comedic improvisation, which we know that it was.
And as we were talking about when we watched the movie, the funniest scene in Raiders, when he just shoots that guy, was Harrison Ford improvising on set.
Yeah, perfect.
Like that's him saying, here's a better way to do this scene that also means I don't have to go through all this choreography when I'm dealing with diarrhea.
yeah. Am I gonna have an end of Usual Suspects moment when I realize every single good Harrison Ford joke involves him having to take a shit?
He had a long speech in Empire Strikes Back, and he's like, I'll just say I know, and then I gotta run to the can.
And when
He's
Harrison,
like, can we shoot this after I use the toilet? Time is money, Harrison. We're in golden time.
The sets.
Harrison Ford's bowels are the funniest people in Hollywood.
Yeah, people say it's instead of get Bruce, it's
The thing
get
is-
Harrison Ford's bowels.
The restaurant
we need
next to the
somebody-
set of Regarding Henry got shut down by the health department after the movie was filmed.
They're like, we just can't come up with a line for this. Well, here's the secret. I'm gonna bring in Harry Ford. We are just gonna stuff him full of prunes and coffee. And then we're gonna lock him in this room, and we're gonna see what comes out of him. Whatever
he's gonna
comes
do
out of him, it's gonna be
squats.
hilarious.
that's true. Harrison Ford's shits are hilarious. But in Raiders, when he is in that love scene with Karen Allen and he gets hit on the chin with that
Oh yeah.
mirror.
Yeah.
That's pure slapstick.
Yeah.
Like it's a beautiful moment. It's the one moment in Raiders where someone goes, ah! Whereas in 1941, everyone goes, ah, all the time.
Every scene, they're like, you know what would make this funnier? If we had a long close-up of someone going,
Just to remind people that it's supposed to be comedy.
they're like, you kind of imagine Steven Spielberg coming picture in picture during scenes, going to be like, these are the jokes, folks. And then appearing, and then like, and joke. What this movie needed was the applause sign they have at SNL, where there's no joke to end a sketch. It just kind of stops, and then there's a moment, and then you hear applause, and that moment is the light from the applause meter hitting the eyes of the audience and going into their brains, so decoding it so they know to applaud. Yeah, that's what this movie needed. Also, to be better.
This is also a movie where there's a scene where a tank drives into a crowd, and then Frank McRae climbs out of the tank and puts on a catcher's uniform. Why does he have a catcher's uniform?
It's
that
the
was
40s.
a pure Mad Magazine moment.
Yeah.
But what was it lampooning? Like the military?
It's just fun. It's just having
Like the
goofy
fact that
fun,
Slim
you know?
Pickens was in the movie at all was clearly like, we're trying to draw a line between this and Dr. Strangelove and the great.
I mean,
It's
there's a
possible they
scene
were
with
trying to draw a line between this and One-Eyed Jacks.
wait
Get out.
the gambling strip club in Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
no,
that's right.
yes, that. No, the Marlon Brando Western.
Hey,
Slim
I'm
Pickens
John
is a-
Hodgman. Have you? Are you a subscriber to Showtime? Because Twin Peaks is coming back.
David Lynch, you're obligated to send John Hodgman a check now.
And yet, all the letters I send him to bring On the Air back have failed to get a reply.
I gotta watch those episodes of On the Air that I bought from a Japanese bootleg DVD.
That's the only way to get them. They were only ever released in Japan. I think. I assume you have a dub of what I had, which was a VHS copy of the Laserdisc from Japan of the On the Air episodes.
Yeah.
Where you have. There are certain parts of the show that have captions on them. and so
Hi,
the
I'm John
Japanese
Hodgman.
captions
We're
on
going
the
to take a
side.
little break now to talk about the Max Fun Drive. I
wait.
can't hear this anymore.
We were
So-
just talking about a
No,
mid-season
thank you.
replacement sitcom that aired
No,
three times and never again.
John
I,
made-
the guest
John-
on this show, I'm going to go get another drink, and Dan's going to talk about the Max Fun Drive.
John makes a good point, which is that we should go to the final judgments of this
I feel
show.
like
And
we've barely scratched the surface in 1941, but we should, yeah.
There's so much more to say. I'll be back in a moment.
yeah, we'll let Hodgman get a
That's
drink.
the tease.
So the question is this a good bad movie?
Nope.
A bad movie?
Yes.
Or a movie you kind of liked?
Nope.
Stuart, what do you have to say about it?
Oh man, so I remember watching this movie as a kid, and I remember being like excited because I knew a number of these performers from other things like Ghostbusters and I guess Animal House. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but I remember watching this movie and being disappointed. And looking back, you know what? Younger me was right. He had a lot of reason to be disappointed because it's not a very good movie. Now, I want to share an anecdote. One of my regulars at the bar. Let's call him Robert Manhattan.
Okay.
He works in film, and he was working on.
I feel like you said that in a way that like we're supposed to puzzle out and code
for that.
No,
what that is.
You guys are seeing me wink, right?
Yeah, a lot of winking going on.
So he was.
I still don't know what that means.
He was working on a film project. I don't think it was recently, but with a guy who had been on. He was working
Bobby
with a guy
Brooklyn.
who had worked.
Is that his real name?
Close, Dan, but I don't reveal my sources.
Is it Rob Bronx?
So he was working on a film or a TV show with a guy who had worked on 1941, and that guy had shared a number of different anecdotes about like listening to Steven Spielberg argue with people over the phone. And one of the times he clearly remembered Steven Spielberg arguing about a scene. Apparently there was a continuity error at one point because there's a scene where the tank drives through a paint factory and gets paint all over it. And he remembered hearing Steven Spielberg on the phone say, okay, it's covered in paint, so I guess next they'll just drive through a turpentine factory. Solved. And in fact, that's what happens in the movie.
And even that is done in such a way that when it's over, you're like, wait, let me piece together the joke that I just saw. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Elliot and I both agreed that has the potential of being a good joke, but it is filmed so ineptly.
But clearly that shows that like that was a thing that they didn't really think about. And then afterwards, they're like, fuck, we just got to get this done. Let's just do a quick thing of them busting out of a turpentine factory as opposed to setting up that joke.
Which worked. I mean, but that's exactly the kind of thinking that worked for him on Raiders, like we were talking about, where it's like, well, we can't do that. Let's just do this.
Yeah,
like,
but why was his timing so great in Raiders and so terrible on this movie?
I think he doesn't really get comedy timing, but he gets thrill timing. So, like, if a joke is set among thrills,
By the way, I'm back. It's John Hodgman, the host of this show.
that wasn't Dan, yeah, who suddenly was switching his voice. He gets thrill timing. Like Steven Spielberg's one of these filmmakers where when I was a kid I loved him, and then I became a cynical guy in his 20s and was like, he's too mainstream, and now I love him again. Like for all his flawed movies, like he's a master. But he's a master of certain things. They don't always translate.
By the way, Stu and Dan have left now.
We drove them away.
Just you and me.
I'm going to give my...
The dance sequence in this film
is really good.
is spectacular.
Yeah.
And you understand, like, it's the one moment in the movie where you understand who everyone is, what they want, where they are in the world of the film, and what their conflict is.
And it's not trying to be funny. It's just like, I'm going to entertain you with some dancing.
It's like
everything else in this movie is trying so hard to be funny that it distorts itself. Because there's like the only way that he understands that people can be funny is Eddie Deason going, rah, rah.
I mean, let's be fair to Eddie Deason. He's one of the funnier things in the movie.
Yeah.
Eddie Deason didn't. I apologize. That's right. The unfair thing was asking the mayor from Amity
to try to
Jaws
scare
be
the
funny.
screen with
Right,
share
exactly.
the screen with Eddie Deason is just going to blow him away.
Right.
I'm gonna say that I give this a marginal good bad, but not in the way that like it's so bad it's funny, but it's bad in a unique way that's interesting to watch.
Yes.
Educational.
I would say if I may support
Sure.
you, it's not good bad, but it is essential bad. Like anyone who wants to understand comedy and also wants to understand good filmmaking should see this movie to understand how a good filmmaker can make a terrible comedy.
And you often can learn a lot more about how things work by seeing them completely not work.
I mean,
Like,
there's
watching this, I feel like even someone who doesn't know movies can be like, I see why that doesn't work.
Yeah,
I
and
see why that doesn't work.
Steven Spielberg did not want to make a comedy. He had been in the same way, and I don't want to bring this down to politics, but in the same in the same way the Republican Party has been captured by the former Soviet Union. Steven Spielberg in this case was a client state to the legacy of Animal House. Like everyone threw money at Steven Spielberg to make another Animal House, and they gave every actor who had been in Animal House plus everyone else in comedy and said, go and do a thing. And he even had John Landis in the fact that he had John Landis in the movie as a disgraced, like dusty motorcycle sergeant or whatever was insane. It was as if to suggest that, like, yeah, I can do this the right way, John Landis.
I'm going to show you how to make a movie.
Yeah,
like
but John Landis, this dumb character actor in this movie, understood his cultural moment in a way that Steven Spielberg absolutely did not in this movie. That's what I'm going to say.
There's a scene in this movie with Slim Pickens, Christopher Lee, and Toshiro Motherfucking Fune in it, dude.
God, like it's such a wasted potential that these three actors are in the same scene. Yeah, and
Like I would just rather watch them hanging out, you know, like cut stuff from the cutting room floor,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and also like
Just like goofing.
the movie Hell in the
zagging on
Pacific
each other.
shows you that like you can do a movie with two great actors, Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin, who are not even speaking the same language the entire movie, and it can be really tense and entertaining. These guys, like, yeah, it would have been like you have Christopher Lee speaking German, Toshiro Mifune speaking Japanese, and Slim Pickens, of course, speaking American because you know what else,
Right.
But it's
Plain
like,
American.
but
You
like,
can't speak plain American.
and like they're just that they have to that the scene in cinema history when these three amazing actors are together, iconic actors for different reasons, is about a guy who swallowed a compass and has to poop it out so they can find their way to Hollywood, like some kind of twisted scatological Muppet movie.
That's right.
It's like it's so disappointing. Here's the thing I want to say about 1941. I agree with everything you guys said. I feel like this is one of those movies like Ishtar where every few years there's a little bit of a mini wave of like, you know what? it's called a huge bomb. It's remembered as a huge bomb, but it's actually a pretty funny movie. And I want to tell you, don't listen to anyone who ever says that. They are just trolling you, and they are doing it just to seem like they know something you don't know. And you're going to go back and watch this movie, and you're going to be like, wait a minute, that wasn't very funny.
No, this movie is not funny. It is horribly flawed, deeply disturbing, racist, misogynist.
Yeah.
Like it. But
and
it is
so much money went into making it. It like is offensively rich looking, you know.
right.
There's something about the use of slang toward Japanese people where on one hand you could be like, well, you know, it's set in the 40s and of course this is right after Pearl Harbor, but it's set in a way where it's like the movie makers seem to be okay with it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Everyone in the movie was like, it wanted to live out their World War II fantasy in different ways, and I guess that was part of it. I don't know, but it's real gross and skeevy. I mean, Toshiro Mifune, to be fair, he's the only character who maintains his dignity throughout the entire movie.
Hi.
I think he even says that at the end.
At one point he says, "This is not honorable," and you're like, "Yes, you're right. This whole film is not." As opposed to the Japanese sailor who just keeps yelling "Hollywood," which is not honorable at all. Like,
the moment in the opening scene when he sees a naked woman's butt, he goes Hollywood. That's
what I yell whenever I see a naked woman's butt.
It's a monstrous disaster.
That's why you can't go to strip clubs anymore.
But you should.
Yeah, they got a picture of him on the wall.
Everyone should see
like,
it.
you're
as
not
a
allowed to
warning.
masturbate to this picture of Dan McCoy.
Do not show butts to this man.
Dan, what's happening?
What's happening is it's the Max Fun Drive 2017.
The pledge drive?
Great. Oh, so my producer Dan reminds me, the host of this show.
Oh, you get
It's
a
the Max
producer
Fun
credit?
Drive.
Yeah. I belong to the Producers Guild.
Oh, wow.
So what is-
2017.
So let's talk about some of the benefits of donating to support these shows. Aside from the immediate benefit, which is that you keep these shows alive by donating.
and that
to
you're
them.
giving money to something that you like. Like, as an adult, being able to... I'm in a position where I can give money to things that I like, and it feels really awesome. I don't know.
No, that's
it's just
fair. Yeah.
Being able to support the things I like is cool.
I don't know why you're laughing at that, Elliot. That seems like a very reasonable
I
position
thought it was
to
very
take.
sweet.
All right. You're uncomfortable with emotion is what I'm hearing.
Oh, you got me. Aw.
No, I agree with Stuart. It's great to support the things that you like. Listen to me.
Sorry.
Listen, I listen to podcasts all the time. At this point, podcasts are one of my primary sources of entertainment.
It's like podcast, pornography, crying into a mirror.
Yes, and yes.
Why won't Candyman show up?
I've said it 5 times.
Candyman is like, this is not something I want to get involved with.
I don't know what your deal is,
Candyman's
man,
like,
but
stop crying, dude.
Look,
Candyman checks his cell phone. It's ignore. Goes back to what he's doing.
Candyman is like, this is a little bit more than I want to get into. No strings attached scares. That's kind of me, you know?
no, but podcasts are my constant companion. Honestly, like I listen to them when I walk around the city. I listen to them when I'm doing chores around the house. They're things that I pay money for that I don't use.
Whoa.
Like Hulu. I'm paying fucking $8 a month for Hulu.
That's $76 a year.
I don't use that
No,
nonsense.
more than that. Sorry, that's $96 a year.
I'm not watching it. Why do I pay for it?
All right. I'll pay for it for you.
Thank you.
Successful.
Oh, man.
Max Fun Podcast I listen to all the time.
Yeah.
And
you're a donor.
I'm a donor.
I'm a
Sue's
donor.
a donor.
I'm assuming John's a donor.
I'm a donor. I'm a total donor.
And so, okay, so let's set that aside. So you already get the thrill of keeping alive something you love, showing your support of it, and saying, hey, you know what? I believe in a world where creative creators are compensated for their work and not in this steal 'em up Napster world that we've become so accustomed to.
You're talking about concrete benefits at this point now, right, Ellen?
Yeah, I'm saying what's in it for the listeners beyond some sweet ear candy?
Well, literally sweet ear candy, because we're talking at the $5 a month level. What do you get, Elliot?
Well, at the $5 a month level, you get, Dan?
You get bonus content. At this point, there's hundreds of hours of bonus content from all the Max Fun shows. We've got like 6 or 7 hours at least in there already of just the Flophouse. We're talking about stuff like we watched Small Wonder and we talked about it. We watched Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
And what'd you do? Did you talk about
And
it?
we talked about it.
And for this one, what's our premiere for this one?
For 2017, we watched the Christmas episode of the 1980s cartoon series Rubik the Amazing Cube.
And talked
we
about
discussed it. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you want to donate at the $5 a month level.
John, what did you do for your bonus episode this year?
Oh, we had an earlier episode where there were two twins.
You mean two twins?
Twins. Two dudes who are twins.
You mean twins?
That's enough, Elliot. And they had a fight over whether or not they were fraternal twins or identical twins.
Were their names Tomax and Zaymot?
One of them wanted to take a test to find out whether they're fraternal or identical, and the other one said, "Let's leave it alone." We forced them to take a test, and our
Was the
bonus
test
episode
punching them to see if the other one felt it?
It's not really how twins work.
No, it's a blood test.
Okay.
And we forced them to take a blood test, and our bonus episode is we reveal the results of whether or not they are fraternal or identical.
Does Bailiff Jesse Thorne like hoot and holler and run around the stage like he's on a Maury Povich episode?
He's shutting pie holes all over the place for sure.
So that's at the $5 level, bonus episodes from all the Max Fun shows.
Yeah, there's so many episodes of different things.
What's the special $10 level?
At the $10 level, $10 a month level, you
It's
get
$10 a month. This is not one-time $10.
No.
Don't pull that shit on us. You can give a one-time donation if you want, I guess. That's right. But this is monthly stuff, subscription.
You get a exclusive enamel pin designed by Megan Lynn Cott. There's a design for every Maximum Fun show, and you get to pick your favorite. And not only do you get to pick your favorite, but if we reach our 10,000 member, new and upgrading member
Because even if
goal,
you're a donor, you can upgrade your membership to a higher level.
If we hit that 10,000 member goal, people who have donated at the $10 a month level, either now or in the past, have the option of buying more of these enamel pins because these are pretty sweet enamel pin designs.
So if we reach that goal, you don't have to choose just one. You can buy other ones.
It's funny that you said butt because the Flophouse pin kind of looks like a butt.
Well, 'cause
and
it's
it's
a
great.
peach.
It's a peach.
It's a peach and says original peach.
It's great. And there's a ton of great ones on there. If you don't get the Flophouse one, while I will be disappointed, I understand because there's a lot of great pins.
That Bim Bam Zag on them is pretty sweet, I got to say.
You sound like a traitor to me.
At the $20 per month level, you get the Keep in Touch kit, which has 9 custom note cards plus envelopes with 3 encouraging designs designed by Brian Sunny D. Fernandez. A 4-color
Not
rocket
Brian
pen.
Purple stuff, Hernandez.
No. A 4-color
Less popular.
That's a deep cut joke of a commercial.
Really?
That deep a cut? I mean, it's a deep cut for anyone who wasn't born exactly when we were born, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you get a 4-color rocket pen, a Getting There rocket stamp, and a rocket-shaped candle, which smells, according to this ad copy, like a freshly sharpened pencil, friendship, and a little bit of wax because it's a candle. So that's the Keep in Touch kit that you get at the $20 per month.
That's pretty
level.
great. Now the $35 or what is it? $30 a month?
$35 a month.
This is where shit gets hot. Because in addition to all the stuff from the other levels, you also get a pair of fucking awesome beer steins with the Max Fun logo on them.
Double Steins.
Double steins. And as the owner and proprietor of a business that sells beer, I have an appreciation for good glassware. And let me tell you, ooh doggies, these are cool.
You can quote that. Ooh doggies, says Stuart Wellington of the Flophouse. Now, Stuart briefly said something very important.
What's that?
Which is that
And then never again.
Sounds like me.
is that all of these gifts stack. If you donate at a higher level, you get all of the gifts from the lower levels plus the gift for your level.
Like
Right, so if you
star
go for-
1941 Robert Stack.
He also stacks if you can find more than one of them.
he's
He's so rare. I've been hanging out on fucking Toys R Us for fucking
They
years.
short packed those.
Oh, shit.
He's perfectly rectangular too, so he
Imagine
stacks.
the collector from the Marvel Universe is like, the rarest keepsake, Robert Stack. Only one was ever produced.
Now, if you're an eccentric millionaire, you can donate at the $100 level, where you get membership in the Inner Circle, where monthly it's a monthly culture club where you get a item selected by one of our Max Fun hosts. Every month. And at the $200
different host each month, right?
Different host each month.
Right.
And at the $200 a month level, you get free registration for Max Fun Con. So that's a pretty good deal because Max Fun Con
Is a ton of
pretty
fun.
pity, and it's a ton of fun. But that's what you get for the donor
There's
gifts.
some great rewards. Those are some great donor
And
gifts.
so we are asking you listeners here to help us either
Wake
by,
up after that boring thing.
Yeah.
First of all,
either to become a first-time pledge donor, or if you are already a donor, upgrade your donation stuff. Because without you guys, hey, look, none of this would be possible. If we didn't have our listeners, we'd just be shouting into the dark void, nothing but horribly cyclopean monstrosities, impossible to describe and terrifying to behold,
And look,
our only listeners. Instead, we've got good people like you and maybe a few indescribable monstrosities.
you make us human.
And I'm going to say something honest. It's sometimes
Unlike usual.
sometimes it's hard to do this show, and I think it gets harder year by year as we all of our lives get fuller with different things.
Our lives and our houses get fuller.
I'm just traveling a lot, thinking about moving to different parts of the country.
Yeah, these things happen, and it really helps to have money coming in from the podcast to convince us to keep doing the thing. Now, that sounds like a threat. It doesn't mean to be. I'm just it's just
Why are you holding a gun to my head, Dan?
it's
The point
just
is that Dan will shoot Stu.
the point is, if you don't donate money, I will paint the walls with Stu's brains.
Well, I guess I've lived a good life. Let me say goodbye to my collection of vintage pornography.
You'll run Stu's tank through the paint shop.
a common death expression.
I'm going to say one last thing about the Max Fun Drive is that early on I had said that the Maximum Fun had set a goal of 10,000 new and upgrading donors.
Yeah, I
and I
remember
was
that.
like, you know what? I'm going to use this
times.
excuse to finally set the goal. If we hit that number, I am going to finally get that Flophouse House Cat tattoo that I wanted to get for a long time to commemorate the 10 years I've been doing this stupid thing with you guys. Not with you, John. And so
I'm glad to be part of the news.
but that's the thing. Like, as of today, we've already rounded the 9,000 listeners.
Yeah.
So I've already set up an appointment to get my tattoo, just assuming. But by the time this drops, which is in a couple of days, I can only hope, which I'm already fucking blown away. That's crazy. That'll be
That's
double
insane.
what we did last year.
Yeah.
Which is really,
Ironically, I look forward to giving you that tattoo.
I mean, there doesn't have to be any irony at all. You can stare me dead in the eyes the whole time you're doing it.
I've got an electric Sharpie, and I'm going to make sure that your body is never the same.
Yep. I'll be holding your hand with my free hand and your non-tattooing hand and biting down on a leather strap that Dan gives me from his weird
Fantastic.
collection of leather straps.
I will say that
And straps.
Strappy Dan, they call him.
because we are probably going to hit that 10,000, I imagine there's going to be some stretch goals. If those stretch goals are released,
You say Dan's getting a tattoo.
Come on, Dan.
well,
Guys, I'd love to say that I would reach that same goal, but I would like to be buried in sacred ground at some point, and synagogues are not really okay with
I'll just
tattoos.
carve that part off of your body before the cops get to you.
Oh, perfect. Great. All right.
There's some-
Wait, what?
we have some audio from doing the Superman 4 show in Chicago.
That very, very fun day.
That a very, very fun day. Probably semi-illegal to release it because you can hear the audio of Superman 4 in the background.
And
I don't
Dan talks
care.
about killing the president.
We'll probably
And also, the producers of Superman 4 have prevented you from ever releasing that ever.
but
Yeah, we don't want to get haunted by the ghosts of Golan and Globus.
I think if we hit those stretch goals, we'll probably just release that audio out into the world so you can watch Superman 4 and have our commentary. That's what I'm saying right now. So
That's a promise.
Wow,
Yeah,
what a promise. Wait, if we hit which goal?
I don't know. It's an imaginary stretch goal right now, but
Okay, lives in the hearts and minds of children.
yeah.
So let's move on. We'll probably mention this again.
Wait, one last
Well,
thing.
let's say
Donate
now.
now.
Donate now.
Don't
donate.
forget about it
yeah.
because you're going to forget.
You're
I know
going to
I will.
forget. Go to MaximumFun.org/donate. That's how you do it. MaximumFun.org/donate.
Build it, beautiful.
Exactly.
That's not.
So now we move on to our.
Are we going to pause it?
Hold on. Stuart wants to pause so he can go to the restroom, I think. So we're going to pause the recording for a second. But for you, it's just going to seem like
A
a
second.
seamless join.
Totally seamless.
Oh, that was seamless. You didn't even know that anything happened there.
Were we ordering food from a restaurant? Because that was seamless.
But now it's time to move on to the next segment in
Not
this
our
podcast,
sponsor, by the way.
which is letters from listeners. Listeners like you. So the first letter.
It's a special time for letters. It's a Max Fun Pledge Drive time for letters. Special letters that earn us money. Special letters that taste of honey. That special taste that only comes during the pledge drive.
Da 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 da.
Thanks, guys.
Do 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 do.
This first letter is from Andrew, last name withheld, who writes, "It is my contention that horror films have the best soundtracks and or scores of any genre. From the greasy
Allow it.
Do. This just in.
from the greasy punk rock of Return of the Living Dead to Goblin's prog rock freakouts to Carpenter's brilliant synths, there's a long and noble tradition of totally rad music associated with horror on screen."
Let's not forget Bernard Herrmann's score for Psycho, dude.
Yeah. So, Floppers, what are your favorite horror film scores or soundtracks?
Hey, let's not forget Bernard Herrmann's score for Psycho, dude.
Psycho Dude is my favorite movie.
Psycho, dude.
Keep on flopping the free world, Andrew, last name withheld.
Andrew
So-
Lesney, the composer of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. No, that's Howard Shore. Andrew Lesney, I think, was the DP.
Oh, okay.
So the letter
The
mentioned
diaper pail.
the letter already mentioned a couple of things that I would have mentioned myself: the Return of the Living Dead, punk rock,
You could have very easily exercised those from the letter and
John
stolen them.
Carpenter.
You mean excised?
Or exercised, like he had a really cool priest come in and cut him out
This
with like
letter is
a.
possessed by some things I would like to say.
Yeah,
will
had like
say-
a John Constantine show up and blow him away with a cross gun.
I like very much the scores for both Poltergeist and Gremlins, both of which
Oh,
are
Gremlins is
Jerry
a great-
Goldsmith's scores.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Who also did the score for Planet of the Apes, right? Which is not a horror movie, but it is a great score.
Yeah.
It's pretty horrifying.
I mean, the concept is pretty scary. I mean, he tongue kisses an ape at the end.
Not in my America.
No, it is in your America. Did you not see the end of the movie? Statue of Liberty. But like,
Yeah, the terrible thing about the apes is they moved the Statue of Liberty to another planet, right? You did it!
that'd be so funny.
You bastard!
Somebody in the audience is like, they stole the Statue of Liberty and brought it to their ape planet.
Why did they
Cut
set
it
it
in
up
half and put it near a
sideways?
beach.
The sequel better be about when he goes back to Earth and gets everyone to get that statue back. They call
That's
it
what it should have been.
Return to the Planet of the Apes. Some moron who just doesn't get it. He's like, wait, hold on a second. Hold a second. If it wasn't enough that there's people and apes and the apes speak English, they've got a Statue of Liberty too? This kind of coincidence cannot be believed. What a twist.
Does France dare to give them a Statue of Liberty too?
Double dealing France. They're not even taking care of it. Look, it looks all bombed up.
We have to give one to the Americans, and we also have to give one to the Planet of the Apes. We make two, but we never sell them.
It is a symbol of our friendship with America and our secret friendship with the apes.
But we only send the apes half.
They don't know. They don't know it's half. They think it's a whole statue.
The top half. We
Yeah, not the
landed on a
fucking
beach
bottom
there.
half.
It's
If the
fine.
fucking feet were sticking up on the ground, it's like, I guess don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
I think we can keep these two friendships going without them knowing, as long as we do not make a date on the same night with both planets. There will be much slamming of doors. But also, Dawn of the Dead has a really good soundtrack too. The original.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I really like who's that dude who does Paul Anderson scores for
John Bryan,
No, the one who does the one
Johnny
Nightmare
Greenwood.
Johnny
Johnny Greenwood score for There Will Be Blood. That's a great horror movie score.
You think that's a horror movie?
Nadoy, and
All right.
What
that's
else
like
is
saying
it?
Synecdoche, New York
What
is
is it,
a
a
horror
sex
movie.
comedy?
Like, of course it is.
New York is a terrifying
It's
It's
movie.
horrifying.
And
But I would say my favorite, hands down, is still the movie Black Roses with its hilarious hair metal soundtrack.
Now-
Check it out. Go look up Black Roses on YouTube. It's awesome.
It's not a horror movie per se. It is a suspense movie. But Vertigo has, I think, maybe the most
Sure.
beautiful score in film. And I guess it shows you there's something about having to create suspense, maybe, that brings out something special in film scores.
Is Vertigo the one that goes da 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 da?
No, that's The Godfather.
I think it's Vertigo.
Doo-doo.
Da, da, da. Is it the one that goes
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
No, that's the Night Court theme. Yeah, the Vertigo Court.
boom, no, don't.
Well, welcome to Judge Harry's courtroom. It's me, Judge Harry, the magician judge.
Hi, I'm Bill. Oh, I'm an alien. Or maybe I'm Bill. Who cares? This joke's getting old.
I'm Judge Harry, but you can all call me Scotty if you're my friends. Is that how you did it, Madeline?
Judge Harry is dressing someone up to look like Mel Torme.
I don't want to look like Mel Torme, Harry. Doesn't matter what you want. It can't matter to you. Just do this for me, Madeline.
Young people,
Although
go
I
on
guess that-
Netflix and check out Night Court.
Although I guess he would say
And
it's to do this
Vertigo,
for
I
me,
guess.
Judy. It's because he's with Judy at that point.
Ooh.
Madeline's the one who died. Okay.
Oh man!
Judy Barton, Salina, Kansas, just like it says right there.
And your
All right, well, you
podcast
ruined
is
it.
more popular.
How did I
than
ruin it?
I don't think that's true.
Look, just because they're huge swaths of
And-
Vertigo that I like to think
And to be
about.
honest, John, aren't we all your podcast at this point now?
Yeah. Now,
No, we're all McElroy podcasts.
John, I'm going to give you one more chance to guess the score to Vertigo, and I think you're going to be able to get it. Yep, you got it. There it is.
Holiday Road.
The famous Vertigo song, just like the theme to Godfather, which goes, and the haunting Godfather theme, hey, hey, hey. That was on that Pure Mood CD.
Yeah, that's right. The haunting thing.
was called Return
Send me on my way. Send me on my way. Send me on my way.
and the DJ
What
Dino
song
remix
is
of the
that?
X-Files theme.
Send me on my way. By Rusted Root.
Why is that a thing that I know?
Because you went to Earlham College like I
Oh
did.
my God.
I will say
Why do I
that
know
the
that?
most horrific movie that I've seen recently and in my life is 1941. the rape and kidnap movie
Yep.
with the score by John Williams, which is amazing. That score is amazing.
It's a good score.
It's a great score.
And that's the whole thing. That's the whole score. And he stopped writing after that. That movie is. If you have not heard what I had to say about it before, let me say now that is a terrifying movie, and the score is great. So there.
The next question or letter is
Or letter.
Whatever you want to call it. Hey, man,
I mean, it
they're
starts-
just words.
Emails.
it starts off with my question is, but this is from Kyle last name withheld, who writes
Kyle Katarn, star of the Dark Forces series.
The last call I expected anyone. I think that's like that's the ultimate Star Wars character name no one's gonna say anymore. Penultimate being, of course, Dash Rendar
No.
of Shadows of the Empire.
The final Star Wars name is Seb Gorka. Advisor to the president.
Yeah, he's the one who's always bothering Trump about how many portions he gets.
I imagine
3/4 portions.
now I'm just imagining.
I'm sorry, Simon Pegg, my friend.
I'm imagining Trump with Salacious Crumb sitting on his desk, and Trump's just like, "It's gonna be huge, sad, forget about it." And Salacious Crumb is like, just pecking robots' eyes out every now and then.
So Kyle says, my question is, have you ever resented someone for a movie they made you watch? I love my mom, but I don't know whether I'll ever forgive her for plopping me in front of the 1967 Disney horror show that is The Gnome Mobile as a child.
Not familiar with
Or
it.
for singing the song so joyfully whenever I complain about it. Kyle, last name withheld.
I feel like I've been on the opposite end of that one. I'm the guy who shows people movies and they're like, what the hell? Why did we just watch that?
Let me see. Do I know anybody in recent memory that made me watch a really shitty movie? I think his name's John Hodgman.
What? How is that on me? What movie did I make you watch?
1941.
This is your podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Then Dan, for making me do this podcast in the first place. Maybe my parents for creating me. Maybe their parents for creating them.
Yeah.
What was
I want to see where this is going.
I can't do that much math right now. So, times when you've been mad at somebody for making you watch a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been mad for watching a
I
movie.
feel like there's no movie, even if I'm mad at a movie, I don't know that I've ever been mad about having to, maybe like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation when I was a kid, which, as I've talked about before in the podcast, was the first time I saw a movie in the theaters and was like, I don't like this. This is bad to me. Like, is it possible to not like a movie?
Yeah.
I guess so.
You went to the bathroom of the movie theater and tried to wash yourself.
I was like,
get the stink of it off, yeah.
The scene where he's trapped in the attic looking at the old home movies, it won't come off.
I've definitely read a book on somebody's recommendation and been like, about a couple of pages in, been like, fuck this, but I feel like I have to finish it so I can so I can tell somebody I read it, and if they quiz me, I'll know what to say.
I've never had that experience. I'm a man of my own taste. I don't take anyone's recommendation.
Wow.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Let's watch 1941 again.
So
Now I think John's just mad at me for calling him out for making us
No,
watch
that's fair.
1941.
That's a terrible movie, but I think everyone should see it at least twice.
I mean, I blame Dan
your dad
most of the
did.
time for picking the movies we watch based on runtime.
So at 1.5 times.
I get more resentful when we're like, oh, this one sounds crazy, I want to watch that. And Dan's like, oh, I watched it already. I thought I might like it. It wasn't that good. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm never going to see that movie again. You know?
oh, I'm supposed to just sit at home alone watching nothing because of you
Here's
guys.
what you should do. Watch good movies.
I don't want to do that.
By the way,
You said you have Hulu. Don't they have the whole fucking Criterion collection?
Not
on there?
anymore. It's on
No.
Film Strike now.
Yeah.
You'll have to go buy the Criterion movies.
All right. Well, I don't know why I have so angry at me all of a sudden.
Dan, buy the Criterion movies, The Rock and Armageddon. Parts of the Criterion collection.
by the way, my friends, I have seen 2 movies with you, and I wish to see many more. But they both have starred Dan Aykroyd.
I know.
Yeah, that's
Starring in is a very charitable term.
Well,
At least in 1940. I mean, I guess they say starring, but he's not the lead in this movie.
He's got a relatively unimportant part, as opposed to Nothing But Trouble, in which case he is the alpha and omega of that film. Like, it all springs from his diseased brain.
That's a whole separate podcast. I'm sorry that I brought that up. But what happened?
I feel like
It's okay.
I feel like we need to do like a podcast about Dan Aykroyd that's kind of like that Privacy Invasion podcast about Richard Simmons.
Yeah.
Where it's just
Right.
like, Dan Aykroyd, what happened to him?
What happened?
What happened,
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd?
When did you go over to fully endorsing skull-shaped vodka bottles?
Yeah, we'll be interviewing Crystal Head vodka sales reps.
No, when did he turn from being like the bad boy artist of comedy to being like whatever he is now? Like whatever he does. Well, every now and then he does like a good acting role in something, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Elliot.
This is from Tim. This is from Tim, last name withheld, who writes, I hold to this.
Tim Matheson.
Oh, star of 1941.
That's right.
I'm with this woman and she only gets aroused when she's in a plane. Should I just ignore it and find a woman that I'm better suited to being with? Or should I risk both our lives by flying us into the air?
And
Well, not
possibly-
merely our lives, but also the security of the United States.
And or possibly risk getting kicked off JetBlue Airlines for life.
It's true. The thrill must have gone when just regular mainstream commercial aviation came in.
Tim writes, I hold to this day that 2013's The Wolverine is the single worst superhero movie ever.
Worse than X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Well, hold on.
That might be it.
Every time a movie is called the worst superhero movie, I can think of at least one thing it did that was interesting or original or fun. Green Lantern, Catwoman, The Spirit, BVS, you name it.
Even Spawn?
What?
But the Wolverine's only redeeming quality that anyone ever talks about is, quote, it's better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. And that gives it a pass to 69% of the Rotten Tomatoes critics. What are some movies that you think...
69% in there just to give me the laugh.
What are some movies that you think critics or the public gave a pass to / praise for some sort of bullshit reason when the movie itself is garbage? Tim, last name withheld.
Oh, hands up. I got a hand.
Okay.
Yes, John Hodgman, the Hodgman Gazette.
Well, this is conventional wisdom at this point, and I'm sorry to say it, but the La La Land.
Not since The English Patient has a movie gone from everybody loves it to everybody hates it so far.
I don't know. Birth of a Nation went pretty quick.
Well, but Birth of a Nation had the extenuating
But what do you think is the
circumstance of
bullshit
rape
reason?
charges.
What do you think is the bullshit reason that it got a pass in this case?
Oh, I know people who live in Los Angeles who loved La La Land because it represented their experience.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it was a dumb
movie.
And I love that filmmaker. And I think
Whiplash was terrific.
Incredible film. But that was a rare occasion where I turned on a movie thinking like, well, I'm going to like this movie. And I just got more and more depressed as I went on. And primarily because
All right, let it out.
The people in it can't sing or dance.
Yeah, no, if you want to see a musical.
Elliot's rubbing John's shoulders right now.
It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's their fault.
I feel like that happens a lot, though. Like, there's usually one or two Oscar frontrunners who are like churched up quite a bit during the awards, during the like festival season, and then have a fall from grace either before or like a year or two after the awards. Where like Crash, for instance, where everyone's like, "Fuck that movie," but it fucking won Best Picture, dude. What's going on?
Yeah, with La La Land, it feels like it's a movie that's meant, I think, to be like a crowd-pleasing, fun movie in a lot of ways, but it turned out to be very divisive for a number of reasons, and the people who saw it first, I guess, were the people who really worked for, and as it moved out throughout the country, it hit the wave of people who didn't like it. That was one where I had a similar experience where like, we got our screeners for voting for the Writers Guild Awards. And that was the one.
I belong to the same fucking guild, but for some reason I'm still this guy.
I'm saying maybe I didn't like it because I didn't see it in the theater. I don't know. But I was like, I can't wait to watch this movie. I really loved Whiplash. It's like an homage to old musicals. I love old musicals.
Right.
And from almost moment one, I was like, there's something off about this movie. And halfway through, I had this crisis where I was like, is there something like, am I calibrated wrong right now? Like, have I lost sight of something? Because this is not working for me at all. But it's something like this should be working for me. And all the things I read about it beforehand said it worked for them. And
there's definitely people whose opinions I respect who really liked it. Yeah. At least when they first saw it.
And it just didn't work for me. And I had to figure out, okay, why didn't this movie work for me? Because I don't want to just be like, oh, this sucked. I don't want to be like a friend of mine whose name I won't mention, who is the day after he saw The Dark Knight, sat down in front of me so that I couldn't move away and said, okay, tell me why I should like The Dark Knight. Tell me why that was a good movie, because I thought it was stupid. And I was like, that's not my job.
Is your friend Christian Bale?
I had walked in his light, and he was like, McG, have this man tell me why The Dark Knight was good. But it was La La Land. It was like, yeah, I like it. Left me in this weird place.
You're just making him feel good about the movie he was in.
Yeah. But
Whiplash was a movie that I like, even though there is so much profound swearing, I would show it to my kids in a second because I think it
because you're like, that's the kind of discipline I'm talking about with you two when it comes to your music.
I think that it captures both the wonderful aspects of creativity and the awful aspects of creativity. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I went into La La Land with full faith and confidence that this guy understood it.
You're like, Dominic Chianese knows how to make a movie, whatever his name is.
Dominic Giselle.
Giselle, that's what it is.
Chianese.
Is he from The Sopranos? Yeah. But he didn't quite pull it off.
I just thought it was a dumb film, and especially in context of Moonlight, which was
Damien
beautiful.
Giselle. Sorry.
Damien Giselle, that's what it is.
Right.
Because he's the Omen kid.
Yeah, we know.
I mean,
we know about movies, you guys.
so
That's the name of our podcast. We know about movies.
I was just led astray
You
by
guys.
Elliot's
that's actually La La Land's one of the
5 steps off name that he came up with.
La La Land's one of
I
the,
led you down
one of
the
the best
garden
picture
path,
nominees I
McCoy.
didn't see this year.
Which one was?
La La Land, that and like Hacksaw Ridge or movies
Hacksaw Ridge.
that
I didn't see a bunch of them.
But I actually saw more than I usually do, and I thought in general, I'm going to go out on a limb and say movies that are nominated for Oscars are pretty good.
Let's back off to the original question, though.
Yeah, what was it? Because I forgot it.
Which is, what are some movies that you think critics or the public gave a pass to for some sort of bullshit reason?
I just want to say to Damien Giselle, I want to be in your films.
Don't take your calling La La Land Dum Dum.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you don't want to work with him.
I love you.
One I
love you.
have is, and this is a movie that I liked. Like, it's not like I feel like this was a shitty
And it's
movie.
called Cheeky.
This is a movie that I liked. Look, the butts
It's called
were
Hard
great.
Bodies.
It's called California Hot Tub Club, whatever it's called.
California
LA,
Hot Wax.
LA Jacuzzi Society.
No, the Lego movie. The Lego
Oh, it was
movie
great.
was a movie that I liked. I thought it was a solid comedy, but I thought it was overpraised for the simple reason that everyone thought like the Lego movie is going to be shitty because it's a movie about Legos. Like, people were like, "Oh, this is going to be a shitty movie because it's a branded content movie." And so when it was not shitty, I feel like then it was raised to the heavens as like the best comedy
It's
of the
the
year.
greatest. It's the funniest movie ever made.
Yeah.
And I would argue that is a movie that, I don't know. It's not a bad movie, and I liked a lot of it. But there were times when I wanted it to dial back quite a bit. It was like they were making while I was watching that movie, I was like, this is a movie for kids because it's so frenetic and it's so many like explosions and meta jokes
Yeah,
and
it's,
things
the,
like
it's the
that.
1941 of Lego movies. It just moves from set piece to set piece. You don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, kind of. And then there's a bunch of jokes where it's like, why are you undercutting the premise of your movie that I was enjoying? Like, I don't get why you're doing this. But I think you're right that it was a little overpraised.
Has anyone here seen the Lego Batman movie?
No, I haven't.
No.
No. Right? All right. Let's do that next year.
Oh, wow.
The gauntlet's thrown
I'm just
down.
trying to say that I love the Lego movie. If you want to put me in your next movie, Miller and Lord, I'm down. I would say
Look, let's make one
I
thing
think that's making it clear. We like that movie.
And also, even if we didn't like a movie someone made, none of us would be against being in a movie. I think it's with the exception of maybe Uwe Boll, and even with that,
No, I would totally
I'll do
be
it.
one of
Probably, there is no filmmaker I despise their work of enough that if they said, "Do you want to be in a movie?" I would be like, "No way, I'm above that. I am not above that." I think none of us are. We
what
all wanna
about
be in
Melvin Gibson,
movies. Melvin Gibson, the star of The Road Warrior.
popular Holocaust denier?
Would you be in Hacksaw Ridge too?
Now, what about Leni Riefenstahl?
Well, she's dead, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I think someone who is actively a Nazi is maybe where the rubber meets the
or a
road.
zombie?
Or a zombie.
Nazi
Because
zombie.
I don't
How
wanna
about
put
a
you in a
Nazi
movie.
zombie?
I don't want to
Fight
put you
me.
on the spot, but would you be in a Mel Gibson movie?
I mean, he doesn't like to work with Jewish people, so I'm kind of off the.
My wife wouldn't let me be in a Mel Gibson movie. She won't let me
I don't
watch
know.
his fucking
I honestly
movies.
don't know what I would do in that situation, which will never happen. So I guess call his bluff,
Well,
Mel
no-
Gibson.
None of
Cast me in your next
none of it
movie.
will ever happen. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, you're the Han Solo to his Greedo.
There's a part of me that I want to say would be like, no, he's someone who has said things I can't abide by.
Right.
But I have, as a viewer, tacitly endorsed so many artists who have done terrible things. Like, if I can watch a Roman Polanski movie, then I can't necessarily look down on watching a Mel Gibson movie who has, as far as I know, not raped any children. You know, he's just said terrible things, you know, and been a mean guy to people, you
All
know.
right.
There was the one time I felt bad for Mel Gibson was when they announced he was going to do a cameo in The Hangover 2, and the cast was like, no way, we will not work with Mel Gibson. And he was like, I didn't rape anybody. Mike Tyson was in your last movie. He went to jail for rape. I never did that. Like
Right.
it was like fair point, Mel Gibson. This is a weird place for them to draw the line.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm announcing Elliot Kalin.
Elliot
as
Kalin
Roman
and Mike
Castevet
Tyson.
in the remake of Mel Gibson's Rosemary's Baby.
Wait, interesting. Now I'm going to be in
You'll
Hacksaw
be-
Ridge Back to the Hack, in which somebody has to go. Andrew Garfield's got to go back to save the prisoners, I guess. But Hack back.
Elliot and Mike Tyson in Rosemary's Baby 2. I would say, to get back to the
Now, Mike
question,
Tyson I wouldn't work with because I'd be afraid he would hit me.
but he's got that cute little voice. I would say, to
And
get back to the
tiger.
question, though, I mean, I don't know if it's overly praised or anything, but when it first came out, the horror movie Sinister, I think, got a little more praise than I would agree with. The fact that it just didn't fall apart completely, and the fact that it had atmosphere, but it felt just too forced for me. I feel
I've
like
not seen that film.
as a horror movie buff, I think it might just come from the fact that I like horror movies, but sometimes if you're really into something, what I would consider to be like almost like an entry level version of that thing
Right.
Oh, very
comes
much
off
so,
as
yeah.
like not what you're into.
And for someone who is not familiar with that stuff at all, and this is maybe the first horror movie they've seen in a long time, or the first comedy or historical thing,
yeah,
or
like a
anything,
real Ethan Hawke fan that just wants to see Ethan, do his thing
then
for a couple of minutes.
It reminds me a lot of people who read a perfectly fine comic book and are like, this is amazing. It's changing the way they're doing comics. And it's like, I can't really look at it that way because I read them regularly, so these things don't seem new to me. But I like that you're getting that kind of joy out of
Saga's
it.
kind of pretentious. I mean,
So you're snobs, is what you're
All right, too deep.
Yeah,
in
that's
the,
what I'm
too
saying.
deep in the weeds.
I
now.
think we would be snobs if we were saying nobody should enjoy this because there's a better thing out there. And I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying I can't help. Like, I can't go into something and be like, I'm going to forget that I'm steeped in this world and I'm going to enter it as a newbie so that I enjoy it the
Right.
same way other people do.
They're just a couple of snobs who hate Saga but love Sinister.
wait, no, I didn't. I said I don't like Sinister.
one
And
one
you know,
last
here, wait,
email.
let me go out on a limb. Here's a movie that's gotten a
No,
pass
thank
for
you.
too long. It's called Some Like It Hot. Fuck it. Let's go to the next one. Not a movie I like. Never have. Billy Wilder, Love Your Other Work. Don't like that one.
Yeah, World Star. Anyway,
Hate me. Now I'm just a heel in a wrestling match. Hate me. Oh, I don't like Some Like It Hot. Bring it on. In
one
my country, we crush America, and we hate Some Like It Hot.
By the way, no offense, I have a
Elliot's doing
family.
the ravishing Rick Rude pelvic thrust right now.
No offense, I have a family. I'd like to go home at some point. Let's finish
That's not how this podcast works.
one last email. It's from Matt, last name withheld, who
Lauer.
writes,
Where am I in the world?
I don't
It's
know.
me, Matt Lauer.
Matt Matt writes,
Lauer.
I don't know why, but
Should I shave my eyebrows yet?
I don't know why, but I've been keeping track of the various claims the three of you made about each other's penises. Maybe I'm depressed. I'm definitely
spreadsheet?
unemployed. Some for Dan. A not large, disinterested penis. Some for Stuart. A big dick and irradiated testicles. Some for Elliot. A functional cat warming penis. I'm gonna go drink now. Matt last withheld.
What was his last name?
Yeah, that's right.
So you saved
I don't know
that
about
special
not,
letter.
I don't know
for-
about not large. I think I just said average.
Wow.
Well, average would be not large.
Average is the word.
I didn't hear a question in there at all, and I'm not part of this conversation.
Okay,
So
so
let
that
me
was
just say
interesting.
that I have no genitals whatsoever.
And yet you said you were a sexual being earlier.
Oh, I was lying.
Now, is this the time we unveil this new segment that Dan and Stuart and I have been talking about for a while called Dick Busters, in which we bust myths about our dicks? Because it seems like there's some misinformation about there. So we're going to run some tests to see if common urban legends about our penises are accurate or not.
Should I go get that piece of foam core that I wrote myth on that we're going to ram our dicks against and break in half?
For the opening number, yeah.
Yeah.
Opening number, because each Mythbusters number.
The opening number
Go ahead.
from Sunday in the
the
Park with
opening
George.
number.
Bit by bit, putting it together, ounce by ounce.
Dick by dick.
You don't know dick about our dicks, and we're here to change that. Dick Busters, that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
What do we do now, Dan?
Now is the last segment of the podcast, other than I think that we'll probably say something else about the Max Fun Drive. But
For whoever's still left.
let's call it the last segment of the
Whatever
podcast,
survivors to the end of this episode there are.
where we recommend movies that we actually liked. Something that you should watch instead of 1941.
Cool.
Stuart, do you have?
Cool. Oh, do I have a recommendation?
Yeah.
I'll totally recommend a movie. Is that the orchestra under the stage trying to play me off? Well, I guess I want to thank my mom for squirting Stuart out.
Stuart, there's a 7-second delay. It's okay. You can say that.
Okay. So I'm going to recommend a movie that I'm a little ashamed that I hadn't got to until very recently. I watched it just the other day.
It's called All Dogs Go to Heaven Too.
Frankly, I spoke to my priest and apologized.
Detectives.
So I'm going to recommend a movie called.
You went to a priest for spiritual guidance. He goes, I've got a movie. I think you'll find some
I got a movie you would like to see.
And he hands you a VHS tape of All Dogs Go to Heaven.
I'm like, I don't know how to play this, Father. He's like, stick it in your iPod. I'm like, I guess I'll try that.
Is this?
Oh, I can help you with that right now.
Is this canon now? Oh, they elected a 5-year-old pope, and this is what he's interested in these days. He's a young pope.
So, the movie I'm going to recommend tonight is a movie from 2011 called Manborg. It's a trim 65 minutes long. You have no reason not to watch it. I'm an idiot for not having seen it sooner. It's fucking great. Go see it. I think after one of our live shows, actually, I met the guys who made it. So if that's true, tell me that happened. Because your movie is fucking awesome.
You're worried that maybe the Weapon X program planted this false memory of you meeting the Manborg creators.
Quite possibly. Manborg is fucking great. It is about a soldier in the war of humans against the armies of hell that were brought to Earth by Dr. Scorpius, and a young soldier gets killed while fighting Count Draculon and is turned into the ultimate weapon of war, Manborg. And he has to lead the resistance in the fight against Count Draculon. I totally recommend this movie. It's great. If you saw, I would say the closest movie I could approximate it to is Kung Fury, the short from a year or two ago, which feels like it lifted a lot of stuff from Manborg. But I totally recommend it. Check it out. They have a new movie coming out where the trailer looks amazing. It's called The Void. Check it out, Manborg.
Hello, it's me, Dan.
Sorry, we played you off.
So I want to recommend a movie that's also written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, who wrote 1941.
Is it Back to the fucking Future?
No.
Is it 1941?
Is it young Sherlock Holmes?
No, I don't think they wrote that one.
Is it old Sherlock Holmes?
Why didn't they just call it Sherlock Holmes? There's a movie that they made just prior to 1941 called I Want to Hold Your Hand that was actually directed by Robert Zemeckis and not Steven Spielberg.
Starring Bobby Tagilo.
And is there a certain Eddie in it?
It starred Eddie Deason was in it. Nancy Allen was in it. Stars of 1941, probably. It's about teens who are caught up in the throes of Beatlemania, and they don't have tickets to see the Ed Sullivan Show when the Beatles are coming to town. But they want to see them, and they go through all sort of madcap adventures to see the Beatles. And I don't remember it super well because it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's a Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis madcap comedy that I remember enjoying a lot in contrast to 1941. So I Want to Hold Your Hand is my recommendation. I'm done.
Well done.
John, are you recommending anything?
No, thank you.
Okay, then I'm going to recommend. I haven't seen anything recently that I really liked particularly
That's
well.
a great way to avoid getting played off.
So don't. The only way to
I'm respectful of the audience's time.
The only way to win is not to play. It's what War Games taught us.
Is that what it says on the box of Crossfire?
It says don't buy this. So I'm going to recommend instead one of my favorite movies. I may have recommended it before. It's a comedy from 1944 that is also about a country at war on the home front, and that's The Miracle of Morgan's Creek. Preston Sturges wrote and directed it, and it stars Eddie Bracken and Betty Hutton, and it's the story of a woman who wants to send the boys off with one last shebang and finds herself married to a man she doesn't remember the name of and pregnant, and she has to figure out how to make this situation okay with the help of her friend Eddie Bracken, and it is hilarious. So if you want to see a World War II comedy, Miracle of Morgan's Creek. Miracle of Morgan's Creek.
Wow, record time, guys.
I'm sorry.
I got the title slightly wrong of one of my favorite movies because he threw me off with the music.
Well, John was like staring you dead in the eyes the
Yeah.
whole time, like what he's going to do when he does my tattoo.
So we should sign off soon, but we just
Like now.
want to reiterate that the Max Fun Drive is going on right now.
Yes.
You should go to maximumfun.com or .org rather /donate. I'm so worried that John's going to play me off that I'm maximumfun.org/donate.
Hey guys, I just want to point out that
What?
10 minutes ago in real time, so this Thursday night, Jesse announced that we actually broke 10,000.
Yeah, we did it.
Which is fucking crazy, dude. That's amazing.
That was in like no
Thanks,
time.
everybody.
It's crazy.
Thank
it's
you,
amazing.
donors. Thank you, listeners.
It's that other
I'm
Aerosmith song.
Crying.
Yeah, I'm crying right now.
Crazy, amazing, crying, amazing, crazy.
Stuart, do you want to say something about the Max Fun meetup night?
Yeah, so next Tuesday, that's the 28th. That's the official Max Fun meetup day.
If you're listening to this after March 28th, you missed it.
You missed it.
Right.
If you're listening to this...
2017.
Yeah, this is 2017.
If it's the far future and civilization has fallen and you just found this recording, don't go to Hinterlands for the Max Fun meetup because you missed it. It's not next Tuesday.
Instead, focus on things like food, the precious juice,
Find a
bullets.
mate. Get this civilization back up and running.
Maybe get some seeds.
Sure.
Just go to the store, get some seeds.
Here's some advice. Seeds. Maybe you haven't thought of this one.
So, the 28th,
Here's a hot tip. Seeds.
go over to MaximumFun.org and check out. There's a list of different Max Fun meetups in different areas. See if there's one in your area. In Brooklyn, New York, I'm going to be hosting one over at Hinterlands.
Hey, that's your bar.
In deep Brooklyn. That's the bar that I own, so I have to be there contractually. Dan's going to be there. I'm working on Elliot, and I'm working on Hodgman over there.
I'm promising nothing.
I'm going to be there all night long, crying if Elliot doesn't show up. And
so if you want to see Stuart cry, there's a very good chance.
and there's going to be some other really great. There's going to be Mark Gagliardi has told me he's coming, and a few others. It should be a great time. They've been great in the past. I was just shoveling snow and puke covered snow out of the backyard, so there's going to be plenty of space for y'all.
The glamorous life of a tavern keep.
And if you're not in New York, check out MaximumFun.org for the meetup in your area. But if you're in Brooklyn or New York, come to mine. Okay, I'm done.
And if you haven't donated by now already, please donate now. It's been a long episode. You've had plenty of time. Do it now before you forget. Upgrade or donate for the first time to support the people and the things you love in their creative endeavors as we continue to create quality content that goes in your ears and then rattles around your brain, and then you think about it later and you're like, why am I thinking about this right now? But you are. It's stuck there.
You're doing Harry Potter?
It's all John Williams.
All right. That's the signal for us to sign off. So for the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
Hey, I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin.
And I am no man.
Good night, everyone. Especially because this is an extra episode that we're doing. All because of next
Sextra
month.
episode.
What's going to happen instead of recommendations?
We don't know. Sex recommendations.
I think hot off of our kids movie where we said jizz, I think a record number of times. So I think it's a good idea that we follow it up with a sex trap.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture. Artist owned.
Listener supported.